everyone. Welcome back to the Talkoffame podcast. I'm Kylie Montigney. Today, I'm so excited to welcome my fellow NEPA native, Lindsey Timek. She's
Hi, how
7
are
years
you?
old and lives in West Piston and a graduate of Wyoming Area High School in 2012. She's a proud hometown business owner for 7 years, and she has been a licensed cosmetologist since 2013 and has a passion for the beauty and wellness industry. She has been a strong advocate for mental health awareness, and she is someone who has battled mental health and an eating disorder for most of her life. She ended up gaining a lot of weight due to her mental health and decided to take back her life 3.5 years ago when she gained her heaviest weight of 300 ibs. And she has lost over 150 ibs naturally by digging deep into those problems, finding love and passion for the fitness, health, and wellness side of her life. And her life has never been better. So, welcome to the show, Lindsay. I'm
Thank
so
you for having me.
another fellow NEPA native on here.
Absolutely. I'm honored to be here. Thank you for having me.
So kickstart us off. So you are mostly known as a business owner and a
Hmm.
cosmetologist. So can you tell us
Yep.
a little bit about your journey as, a hometown business owner? Like you said earlier, it's like 500 feet from your house. So it's not
Yep.
that far of a walk or say or a drive per se. So what inspired you to pursue a career in that and a beauty and wellness industry today?
So, from the time I was a very little girl, I always knew that the, excuse me, the cosmetology industry was my calling. I remember being a little girl and seeing my grandmother behind the chair and wanting to follow in her footsteps. But I also come from a small business family. My great aunt and uncle owned a Jeep dealership for many, many years that was here locally in Exeter. My mom had her own healthcare home healthcare business. My dad had a plumbing, heating, and welding business when I was growing up. And I always knew that working for somebody else wasn't going to be for me. And I always remember my mom asking what I wanted to do when I grew up. And I would always say I wanted to own my own business. So, the health, wellness, and beauty industry, like I said, has always been right up my alley. But I realized very soon into getting my cosmetology license that standing behind the chair wasn't necessarily for me. Even though I did love the factors of making others feel beautiful in their own skin, at that time in my life, I was in a very hard place. So, standing behind the chair and looking at myself in the mirror all day, every day was actually a really big struggle for me. And one thing that I used to do because I was working all day long is I always enjoyed my 15 minutes of peace and quiet when I would, go to my local tanning salon and I'd feel really good with a little bit of color, but there's so many other benefits that came along with it. So, um, here I am in 2025, 7 years later, a local hometown business, which, as you can tell, I get very emotional talking about it. I'm very proud of what I've built here in my hometown. And being a business owner of 7 years is not something that comes easily. There's been a lot of ups and downs, but it has been the best ride that I've ever been on.
Like that's so true. Like not a lot of businesses even last a year because of money or they find out of love with it, especially in this area like West Piston and
Yeah.
Pittston in general, right across the river.
Yep,
There's so many amazing businesses, especially if you go maybe in downtown Main Street, Pittston.
absolutely.
You'll find amazing businesses if you ever live in Scranton or the Wilkes-Barre area or you're just coming to visit. Go to downtown Pittston or West Pittston because there's so many amazing places in there. But to
Yes,
go
we are
to tanning
thriving with
places,
small
that's become
businesses.
actually my latest obsession over the last
Yeah.
few weeks.
Yeah.
And basically, I've been obsessed with tanning. I'm like
Hmm.
over the last few weeks for no reason. Like I love
Yeah.
like the reason of like color, especially in the colder months. There's no like die hard sun, like maybe it's in the spring or summer. So I'm
Hmm.
like, I don't want to look pale anymore. So let's actually get some color in here. But I actually need your opinion on this. So
Okay.
as you own a tanning salon, what is the best way to gain color? Like, how long does it usually
Consistency.
take as a business owner? I know a lot of people struggle with this, and I
Sure.
personally struggle with this, and I don't know what to do, so I figured I'll ask you now.
So, one thing that sets me and my salon apart is the fact that we stand behind and stand very strong on the fact of no burning. There is a very, very large misconception about the indoor tanning industry and us causing cancer. Now, I always say this to everybody who walks through my doors. It's inevitable, whether we're outside in the sun or maybe we're not exposed to the sun all the time. A lot of us do have those precancerous cells in us, and doing things the right way, which is slow and steady, with the right amount of consistency and also using the right types of products. And may I also add, adding in the factor of having employees and owners that know what they're doing, know what their equipment is for, and knowing how to use them properly plays a huge factor. There are a lot of salons that I know of that I hear, my daughter went and tanned and she fried. That is a huge no-no to all of us in the industry, especially the ones of us who take this very seriously. Your skin is your largest organ, and it's the one thing that protects you the most. So you have to play very carefully with this game. I stand very strong. Once again, I just said on the factor of no burning. So slow and steady wins the race. With a little bit of consistency, you will build the proper base tan to protect you from the outside factors. But not only that, you're also skin training yourself. So that way you're building a natural SPF. So that way, when you do go outside in the sun, you're not clogging your pores with all of these harmful SPFs. And yes, I did just say harmful SPFs. A lot of these things that we're putting on our skin to prevent us from cancers are also adding into cancer factors too. Not saying not to use them. I'm not saying that there aren't better products out there than other ones, but you should also be building natural SPF. It is the natural process of the skin to tan to protect us from all of those outside elements.
You literally answered my question. I was going to ask what SPS or SPF was actually. But I'm
Yep,
the type of person that actually burns very easily because I have
I
very
do too.
sensitive skin. And
Yep.
so with me, I always like whenever I go out tanning or whenever I go out in the sun, I burn quickly and harder than others. Like
I do
basically
too.
it's like with my sensitive skin, you just get
Yeah,
very red and burn easily. And that is with
absolutely.
me, especially when I go tanning, is that even if I go for maybe 5 minutes in the tanning
Yep.
bed, I will get red so quickly and burn to the point where I can't even move like my leg or something.
So I've worked very hard over the last 7 years to kind of change the perspective on the indoor tanning industry. And I truly believe that's one reason why I am so successful here in my hometown. I am honored because I have a lot of family members, a lot of parents who bring their children to me that are of age in the state of Pennsylvania to be able to tan. And they come to me because they trust me. They trust me and they believe in me, and they know that they are in good hands when they walk into my salon, whether it's myself or any of my employees that work for me. We take this very seriously. This isn't just getting color. This is protecting yourself from a lot of harmful things that can happen outside in the sun. And one reason I got into the indoor tanning industry, of course, I felt great with having color, but as a very young child, I constantly had sun poisoning and severe sunburn, and that's not healthy. Those are actually the factors that are opening you up to skin cancer quicker than anything else. So, by doing things the right way, slow and steady wins your race, a little bit of consistency with the right kind of skincare products, you're only benefiting yourself. And might I add, the tanning industry is not what it used to be. It is not the 1990s anymore. These are pieces of equipment, especially the pieces of equipment that I have that I recently have updated within the last year or two, are more so on the skincare and wellness side of things. You're not only getting exposure to UV rays, but you're also getting exposure to blue light therapy, red light therapy, which help with a lot of skincare factors, health factors. I can go on for hours if I really wanted to, but
Mhm.
there's so many other things out there. And it's such a great industry. There's so much to learn. I'm somebody who loves to travel to all of the big tanning conventions because I always say there's always something evolving.
Mhm.
We are actually getting ready to add pure medical grade red light therapy for the wellness side of things in the next 2 to 3 weeks. And we are so excited to be able to offer this to Northeastern Pennsylvania because unfortunately, we're behind the times here. So I love to keep things updated and brand new so that way everybody knows that there's so much more to this industry than just looking good and feeling good.
Oh my gosh, I have to check it out once it's done. You have to text me and let me know when it's out because I love to see it. But
Yeah,
I know
absolutely.
with red light therapy, that has been honestly a big thing for I know for a couple of years, especially athletes. I know a lot of
Absolutely.
athletes post about it and all that stuff that helps them physically, mentally during the off season. I know my brother has looked in all that stuff because he's a
Yep,
baseball player right now, so he's kind of looking for all the solutions, honestly, he can get, honestly, what is
100%.
out there. But I'm sure with all the red light therapy, it will be successful because I know it's become more popular about a year.
Right now, we currently have three pieces of tanning equipment that also have red light therapy in them. So you're not only getting exposed to the color aspect, but you're also getting exposed to the wellness side of things. And legally, as a licensed tanning salon owner, we can tell you that the red light therapy is actually reversing the negative side effects of indoor tanning. Not saying that if you're overexposing, that that's not going to cause harmful things that we don't want to talk about because then we also always have to go back to slow and steady wins the race. But
Mhm.
like I said, a lot of the new and upcoming equipment is more so in the wellness industry versus the tanning industry. And like I said, again, we're not in the 1990s anymore, people. We got to keep up with the times. We got to make sure that we're staying up with new equipment. And that's what keeps us evolving. And that's what keeps us known for what we're good at.
Hey, we're in 2025. Like,
I
things have
know.
been different than the 1990s. Like,
I always say to
technology,
people, these
social
tanning
media.
beds are not like 2010 tanning beds. You take a car from 2010 and a car from 2025, there's a lot of differences. There's a lot of differences.
I know, and you can drive in cars that drive for you. Like, technology is so much different than maybe like 15 or 20 years ago.
Absolutely. And, not only do we offer, the wellness side of the tanning industry as well as the tanning industry itself, but I am also 3 times master certified in custom airbrush spray tanning, excuse me. So I see a lot of these beautiful young ladies that come to me for, all of these different dances and formals and weddings and special events that may not want to be exposed to the UV ray, which is completely fine.
Like, in your opinion, like, is the tanning beds safer than like this spray tanning, or which one is like safer, if anyone was wondering, in your opinion?
Tell me very quickly, and a lot of my clients that will see this interview come out are going to laugh when I say this, but I'm brutally honest. Nothing is safe in this world anymore. Too much of
Mm,
anything is harmful, right? And there's a lot of factors. Too much exposure to UV is going to aid into different things that we don't want to talk about, but also clogging your pores with these spray tan chemicals and at-home self tanners constantly is also not good either. So there's plus and minuses to both of them. Personally and professionally, I would never tell somebody if something is, safer than the other. It's all about in moderation.
the good answer. Like, I'm the type of person that no matter if I go in the sun or if I go to a tanning salon or something, I always have to be very mindful because I have sensitive skin. I'm kind of at like high risk of getting
Sure,
skin cancer because of my skin and going out in the sun. So,
absolutely.
if you are at high risk or something like that, you always have to be very mindful. Especially
Absolutely.
being 18 years old, you're like, well, I don't care.
Another thing too is there's people out there that don't have the precancerous skin cancer cells in them, but that doesn't mean that they shouldn't be mindful and be cautious with it too. It runs in everybody, and like I said, too much of anything is not good for us anymore.
So true. So to go into licensed cosmetologist, so you've been licensed for since 2013. So what has
Yep.
been the most rewarding part of your career so far as a licensed cosmetologist?
You know, Making people feel beautiful in their own skin and who they are is the number one reason why I always enjoyed being in the health and wellness and beauty industry, right?
Mhm.
But going through a lot of the things that I've been through in the past few years, seeing people come to me not only because they trust and believe in me, but because they know that we take pride in doing things the right way has been one of the biggest benefits of doing what I do, whether it's from 2013 or it's now in 2025. I truly stand on doing things the right way and taking pride in what I do and giving my clients the education that they need to know that they can still do these things without harming themselves or their loved ones.
Especially like with you doing this for almost about more than 10 years.
Mhm.
Like technology is evolving. Like you probably know more things than you did 10 years ago, and that's perfectly
Oh
fine.
my goodness. And here's the thing too, Kylie, I'm constantly learning every single day. If somebody were to look at you and tell you that they know everything about the industry, they're wrong because they don't.
Things
Things
are
are
changing. No one
constantly
knows
evolving.
everything, and no one is perfect at what they do.
Nope. And I'm going to be honest with you, that is one thing that keeps me young at heart by continuously staying up on the up and coming and what's new and bringing all of this back to Northeastern Pennsylvania because, like we all know, we're behind the times here.
And it's a very like old timers like side of the state. Like everything is all country land. Of course, it's all depending on where you go, but
Yep.
depending on like where mean you are, it's all like small town businesses supporting one another. Like
Yep.
it's all about community here in NEPA
Absolutely.
or where we are in Pittston. And
100%.
basically, with this community, like everyone, there's always those people that think they know everything, and that's fine. There's
100%.
always gonna be those people. But let's say, like, maybe you're a cosmetologist, and there's many people. Maybe let's just say there's maybe one across the street from you, or one
Hmm.
maybe a block away from you. There's always gonna be competition and people that you think know more than you, no
Sure.
matter if they're across the street from you.
I always say this too, everybody does things their own way, and that's fine. There's plenty of business to go around. I support everybody in the beauty, health, wellness, and tanning industry. And I think that everybody that's out there as a small business owner grinding every single day deserves a round of applause because it is
Mhm.
not easy owning a business. But what makes it a little bit easier is standing true to what you believe in and doing things the right way. And I'm pretty sure that that's why I'm still here 7 years later and continue
True.
and will continue to be here.
Of course. So you have been a strong advocate for mental health awareness. I know that's something that me and you have in common, but
Yeah,
can you share more about your personal experiences with mental health and how they shaped your perspective in
absolutely.
life or mental health?
Um, so ever since I was a little girl, I have always struggled with my mental health, whether it has been depression or anxiety. But as I've gotten older, especially within the last few years, like I told you, I've taken a very deep dive into, excuse me, my mental health and what's really been going on in my life. And one, I can say this, it's been a very tough road to walk, but again, one of the best journeys that I've ever been on. I've learned a lot about myself and a lot about, the mental health community. And I stand very strongly on the fact that I believe everybody should be an advocate for therapy of some sort, whether it's working out or going for a walk or some sort of self-care that gives you the time to reflect on yourself and see what's really going on
Hmm.
within the last few years, I've gotten very heavy and deep into my therapy sessions where it's come out that my depression and my anxiety has actually been a slow burning eating disorder. And that was binge eating, which resulted in my weight fluctuating up and down since I was a very young girl. And that a lot of that stemmed from untreated ADHD, anxiety, and depression. And I turned, to an eating disorder, which I'm sure some of you that, will hear this podcast have probably heard me talk about this before. I'm sure Kylie, you have, but um, addiction is addiction, whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, gambling, or food. Unfortunately, having a binge eating disorder or any type of eating disorder is one of the hardest addictions to get rid of because unfortunately, you can put aside gambling, you can put aside, drugs, alcohol, but we need food to live. So you have to learn how to live with this type of disorder as well as manage it with all of the different emotions that come along in life.
Mhm. I had to honestly experience the same thing. But like I had anxiety and depression since I was basically born, so everything
Hmm.
was always normal for me, like with
Sure.
mental health or whatever anxiety. But I've always dealt with like eating disorders, even though I didn't wasn't naturally diagnosed. I was always,
Hmm.
binge eating or eating all the time and would never gain weight. I
Yep.
was the type of person that no matter how much I eat or what junk food I eat, I will never gain weight. This because
Sure.
my body was never like producing enough to make me actually gain weight at 18 years old. And I was actually behind for a while just because I was never gaining weight. It was not
Sure.
normal for like maybe a 17-year-old to be 100 pounds or 90 pounds. And that's what I was.
Yeah.
I was about 100 pounds at 17 years old. And
Yeah.
naturally, that wasn't normal for maybe 17-year-olds or 18-year-olds.
Sure.
And with anxiety and depression, and that can play such a deep role in with you gaining weight. Even though you're
Absolutely.
eating a ton and you're basically eating all junk food or just eating 3 times a day, all your meals, even if you with you suffering anxiety, depression, it can help you not gain weight just because of you struggling all the time.
Absolutely. And little do a lot of people realize, a lot of us suffer with these issues. A lot of them go unnoticed and undiagnosed, which, hey, that's completely fine. But that's one of the reasons why I've taken such a big leap into opening up about my journey and my struggles over the last few years, because it has really, truly made me realize how
Mhm.
many of us struggle with the same thing.
That's so true.
Mhm.
And you got into a little bit of a fitness journey here, losing
Yep.
over 150 pounds throughout this process was an incredible achievement in a start in your process. So can you walk us through like that mindset and what kind of led you through that process and losing 150 pounds?
So we can almost double that number. I've lost well over 200 pounds at this point. But to be completely honest with you, growing up as a young girl, I was very active. I was a high school cheerleader. I was a dancer growing up. I was always bigger boned. I was very muscular, but I was always in shape. But I always had the underlying issues of an eating disorder, right? So, um, I had gone through some pretty rough times within the last few years where I was in a pretty toxic relationship. One of my family members was very sick that I was taking care of, that I was also living with, as well as being a brand new business owner. But on top of all of that, we got slapped with COVID. So the anxiety, the depression, and the eating disorder really took over, where I put on a good 150 pounds within 6 months quickly. You don't really think that that's possible, but unfortunately, it is possible. Um, so the reason I took the deep dive into my mental health and as well as, my self-care routine and my physical self was because I officially hit rock bottom. At
Mm-hmm.
the fine age of 22 years old, I was at the heaviest I ever had been. I wasn't able to walk up a flight of steps. I was having a hard time running my business. I was constantly moody. I never wanted to do anything. And all I was able to think about was food.
Mm-hmm.
So one day, when I realized that we had a serious problem in front of us, I decided that I was about to cut out all of the toxicity in my life. I left my abusive relationship. I really dug deep into my mental health. And then I found my passion and my love for working out again. And it was very hard in the beginning. It was one of the toughest things that I've ever done, but slowly and surely, I did it. I lost weight naturally. And I'm actually 3 weeks post-op today from a very, very big major abdomen surgery that I had to have done because of all of the damages that I did internally to putting on weight that quickly.
Mm-hmm.
I had to have a skin removal as well as fatty tissue removal and abdominal wall repair because I was in so much physical pain within the past year or so that there was really no option but to fix the issues that I had caused for myself.
Course. So, like, I know with me, my mental health honestly was going downhill during the pandemic too. Of course, with NEPA, like all the quarantine and everything, literally went like rock bottom. So, of course, we're all
Yep.
stay at home and we couldn't do anything. We couldn't see our friends, go to
Hmm.
school. Like, we're like living a normal life. And that is something that I absolutely was not ready for because it all happens very quickly. So I was not kind of prepared for
Very.
that. And so, especially with suffering from anxiety and depression, I immediately hit rock bottom because of that. So I was like, I really don't want to live
Yep.
this life. And I know a lot of people felt the same way. And I immediately really went
Absolutely.
into like a very downfall and going into depression. It was probably the hardest depression I ever been in my life. That's because I was not like
Yeah, I think it
living
was
day to
very
day.
common.
Yeah, in this, I was just not
Absolutely.
like prepared just to like go in a certain quarantine and not live life like I used to. Like growing up, I used to play sports like baseball, basketball, swimming. Like I was grew up into a
Yep.
very sports-oriented family. So even if I didn't play sports, I always do it for fun with my family. So I was always, very active in some sort.
Hmm.
But even with COVID, like everything just went downhill and life was naturally not the same.
Absolutely. I think one thing that, came from COVID is the fact that a lot of us were able to really open up about our mental health and what we were struggling with. And that's one thing that I find very rewarding about opening up about my story is that I connect with a lot of people who have struggled with the same things and have been afraid to talk about it. So that's why every time I have the opportunity to be an open book and tell everybody the truth behind what went on, I take that advantage and I jump on it.
You definitely should, because everyone needs to share their stories once in a while to people. Like it's not
Absolutely.
good to hold it in.
No, and it's very therapeutic for myself, one, to be able to share
Mhm.
my story, but the most rewarding part is being able to help other people with
Mhm.
advice and just maybe listening to their story, maybe giving them a little tweak here or there of what I did, what may work well for them. It has been one of the toughest journeys, but the most rewarding journey. And I've only just got started.
Yay. I'm so happy for you,
Thank
girl.
you.
But for end this episode, like how can people connect with you and your work?
So you can find me on Facebook, you can find me on Instagram, on TikTok, whether it's my personal page under Lindsey Timek or a Bronzatora Tanning. Feel free, reach out. And if you don't want to reach out over social media, you can find me at 150 Boston Avenue. I get emotional saying it, but over at a Bronzatora Tanning. Come in, say hello, come and see what we're all about, be a part of our family, and let us be a part of your journey.
You heard her. I'll put all of your like your social media links and everything in
Thank
the
you.
description for everyone to check out your business and everything. And if anyone is interested, maybe you're coming to visit Nipa for a couple of days or you're from Nipa, I
Yep.
recommend visiting. I know I'll be coming down next few weeks for maybe a self tan or
I
something.
can't wait to see you.
But thank you so much, everyone, for listening. I hope everyone enjoyed this episode and let me know what you think. And I'll be happy to hear anyone's thoughts. And thank you so much for coming on, taking the time. I've loved hearing your story, and I really appreciate
Thank
you coming
you.
on, and taking the time with
It
us.
was an absolute honor, Kylie. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Make sure to like, subscribe, and review. And I'll talk to you guys very soon.